Hello YouTube, my name is Chris Lopresti and I am the Chief Pilot at Terrestrial Imaging. We are approved by the FAA to fly drones for commercial purposes and are also proud to be a Yuneec dealer. In this video, we're going to introduce you to the Yuneec Tornado H920, an impressive professional flying machine. What makes the H920 a professional aircraft is its ability to carry an integrated high-end professional camera, its ability to have one operator fly the aircraft while another operator controls the aircraft, and its ability to fly in the unlikely event of a single engine failure. Make no mistakes, the Yuneec Tornado H920 is an incredible must-have professional aircraft. In this video, I will introduce you to the H920 and share with you 3 things you should know about the Yuneec Tornado H920. Let's get started. The 3 things that I'm going to talk about in this video are: number 1, the overall size of the H920 as compared to, say, over here, the Q500. The second thing is the battery configuration. The H920 can fly with up to 3 batteries. And the third thing we're going to talk about is the integrated CGO4 camera, which is essentially a professional Panasonic GH4 camera in a purpose-built Yuneec enclosure. These 3 things we're going to go over one by one. But first, let's have a look at a brief unpacking video. Okay, so here we have our Tornado H920 and we have a Yuneec Typhoon Q500 4K. Pretty big difference. I hope you can get a good look at that from your perspective, but from here, you know, the Q500 can pretty much live underneath it. So what felt like a big aircraft at first when you first handled the Typhoon 4K, when you contrast it and compare it to Tornado H920, it's rather small. And so let's just have a look at some dimensions. So we have a 9-inch height of our Q500. And I won't include the top of the GPS pod here, but I'll say we have a 14.5-inch height over here. So there's a pretty big difference. And I'm going to measure motor to motor on a diagonal. And we have 20 inches on our Q500, and on our H920 we have 36 inches, 1 yard. Pretty big difference. So we have 36 inches overall width, plus or minus. I'm sure it's a little bit bigger if you include the edges of the motor, versus 20. Now, if I extend my propellers, which I'm not sure this is very useful measurement, and I do that over here with the Q500, I have about 33 inches of span from propeller tip to propeller tip. And here, my yardstick's not big enough to measure, but we'll do some guessing. We have 36, and then we have 17. So 46 or 17, 15, 52 inches, quite a substantial difference. So that's the clearance you need, 52 inches just in between, for example, obstacles to make sure you don't hit them. Don't recommend you ever get that close. Weight, I don't have a scale here, but there's a substantial difference. And the difference not only comes in from the extra size and the electronics, but the camera itself is tremendous, as you can see. So let's have a look. Over here with the Typhoon 4K, we have a very small camera, almost like a webcam. And then over here on the H920, we have a full professional. Really, it's a Panasonic GH4. It's almost the size of a DSL camera. The Micro Four Thirds cameras are mirrorless, and they're quite incredible, and that's what's happening in here. And although there are some similarities when we say this is 4K and that is 4K, I have to tell you from my experience, it's night and day. There's not even a comparison between the camera that you find on the Yuneec Typhoon or the DJI Phantom as compared to a real professional Micro Four Thirds camera here, such as the Panasonic GH4, which is built in here. So if you want to learn more about that camera, I recommend you read up a little bit about the Panasonic GH4 because that's really what's in here. So we talked about measurements a little bit. You can see that it's a completely different aircraft, and not to say that size alone makes it professional, but all the other factors that go into this, such as 6 rotors and redundancy in the event that a single motor failed, you could still fly this aircraft. Now let's look at the propellers too, by the way. We have a 13-inch propeller here on the Typhoon, and we have a 17-inch propeller here on the Tornado H920. We also have carbon fiber propellers on the H920, whereas we don't have that over here. I'm not sure what kind of plastic it is, but they're more of a plastic propeller. The propellers on the Typhoon, they spin off. There's 2 A's and 2 B's counter-rotating, and they spin off. And we talked about before that on the Tornado, they're actually screwed on using an Allen key screwdriver. And the idea behind that is that if they were to spin on and spin off, because of the fact that they can counter-rotate, it could conceivably unthread them. So these are secured, and there's even Loctite on the screws to make sure that they don't come off. What else do we want to talk about? So from a size standpoint, the overall size of the H920, it's tremendous compared to the Typhoon, the DJI Phantom, and others. Now, I guess it's worthwhile pointing out that both of these pack into a nice aluminum case, but the Tornado folds down. Propellers have to come off in order for it to fit into this case. I don't know if you can see it over here, but we have a really nice travel case down there. It's not this top one. This top one is for the gimbal, but there's a bottom case here that you probably saw in the unboxing video where this neatly packs away in. But if you want to put this away, you do have to take the propellers off. A little bit awkward, but that's just the way it works. Now, it collapses down to size very easily. And in my case, when I go out to do a photo shoot, I will leave the propellers on, and I will drop all of these arms. And then I will transport it outside of a box safely in my truck. And it allows me to pretty much get in the air in just a matter of minutes. Now, if I'm going to take a trip somewhere far and I know this is going to go on an airplane or in a hotel room or somewhere else, then it's worthwhile taking those propellers off and then packing it away neatly in that very, very beautiful aluminum carrying case. The camera, which we'll talk about next, also comes off. It can mount on the Pro Action, which is basically a ground-based tool where the gimbal can be controlled through buttons and batteries and so on in here as if it were still on the aircraft. So we'll show you that later. We'll mount the camera, just unplug it, put it on here, and in essence you have a gimbal on here. It's like the steady grip that came with the Q500, except for they call it a Pro Action. Same kind of thing. So that's pretty much it with the size of the aircraft. It's really rather tremendous. And again, let's just make one final comparison here. If I take the propellers off the Q500 and we compare the two, you'll still see, even folded down, there really is a considerable difference in size. And so here we have, with no propeller, if I were to go from one side to the other, about 15 inches. Now here, we're about 16 inches, so its width is pretty similar. And on the diagonal, we're at about 22 inches, and on the diagonal here, we're at 17, 18 inches. But of course, that's not a fair comparison because we have our propellers and our arms also in the way. But fold it up, and when the Typhoon has no propellers on and the Tornado is folded, his arms are folded down, it's just much taller, not necessarily much wider. It's much heavier. I know you can't feel that, and I don't have a scale here to show you, but it's probably, I would guess, it's about twice the weight, no, maybe 3 or 4 times the weight when you consider the camera. And so it's really the camera that adds considerably to the weight. And let's not forget, and I'll show you this next, there's 3 batteries in this aircraft, and if I take the 3 batteries out, of course the weight goes down tremendously. So okay, that's it with the size. In a moment, we're going to take a look at the H920's battery configuration. We were just talking about the weight of the batteries. We'll talk about the configuration, charging, and I'll show you that you can put 3 batteries into the H920 to increase your flight time. Now that we've finished taking a look at the size of the H920, let's take a look at the battery configuration. So unlike the Yuneec Q500 and the DJI Phantoms that many of you have flown, the H920 can fly with up to 3 batteries installed in the battery compartment. 3. And I don't mean purchase 3, I mean you can actually fly with 3 batteries installed in the aircraft. So that being said, most people will purchase 6. This way they have the ability to change out their batteries on a job site while the other ones are charging. So these batteries are about 1 pound each. They're 6-cell LiPo batteries, and each one, of course, needs to be charged before it can be installed into the aircraft. And so the way we do that is we use the supplied A10 charger. And this is a very professional charger. It's different than most chargers you've seen. You can charge 2 batteries at the same time using port A and port B. You can select which port you want to charge, A or B. And as I said, you can charge both simultaneously. So now this charger can be used to charge the batteries, or at the same time, you could also plug a USB adapter into the back of this, and you can use it to charge the ST24 controller or your phone or anything else for that matter. And so to charge the batteries, we basically take the leads that are on the back of the batteries. One of them is a power lead, the red and the black, and the other one is the balancing lead that kind of connects to each of the different batteries in here that make up this battery pack, and in this case 6 cells. And so we're going to take this and plug it directly into the front of our charger. And so I can put in my balancing port here, and then I'm going to take this extension cable, I'm going to plug that into my battery. I don't know if you can see that from there. And then what I want to do is connect the battery to the black and red terminal. And then once my battery is connected, I can select channel A or channel B by picking here. And then once I've selected the channel, I can use my increase or decrease button on the control on the charger to choose what I want to do with this battery. I can balance it, I can charge it, I can fast charge it, I can store it, and I can discharge it. So in this case, I'm going to choose charge. And you do that by holding down the enter start button for a few seconds. It makes a tone and it checks and inspects each cell in the battery. It comes back and says, I found 6 cells. And you know, as the owner of this, that this is a 6-cell battery. It found 6 cells. We can hit the enter key and we then can continue to charge. If it came back and said it only found 4 cells, well, then there's a problem and you should not charge it. Okay? So once it's in charge mode and the charging cycle has begun, a couple of minutes into it, the fan will start on the charger to cool off the charger while the charger is charging each cell in the battery. And it does that, it charges, it balances, and when it's finished, it'll send off an audible tone to let you know that the battery has been fully charged. So, that being said, let's talk about where these batteries go inside the H920. So, we've got the ability to put in 3 batteries. And if you're flying a heavy camera, you may want 3 batteries. If you're just flying for fun without a camera attached, you might fly with 2 batteries. So one thing to consider, there's a compartment in the back for 3 batteries. If you're flying with 2 batteries, put 1 battery on the left and 1 on the right and leave a space in the middle. Kind of like this, if this were inside the aircraft. We want the weight to be balanced. If we're going to fly with a 3rd battery, let me disconnect this. If we're going to fly with a 3rd battery, the 3rd battery should be in the middle. And that will assure that the center of gravity and the weight of the aircraft is properly distributed. And so let's have a quick look at where to install these. And so once again, unlike the Typhoon and the Phantom, we're flying with up to 3 batteries as opposed to 1. So we open the battery compartment. We choose to put 1 on the left. We're going to put 1 on the right. We want to put our leads up. The balancing connectors will not be used when we're in flight. We put the 3rd battery in the middle. And each of these connectors plugs into the top. I'm not going to do that now because I'd have to get down there in order to see what I'm doing. And then all 3 of them are kind of secured by a Velcro connector here. And then the leads are pushed in, the door is closed, and then your Typhoon, your Tornado is ready to fly. And then naturally, you want to charge your ST24 controller, and as I said a moment ago, you're going to do that by using the same charger plugged in with your USB cable. Naturally, you can use a brick from your cell phone or from your iPad if you don't want to use this Yuneec provided charger to charge your controller. One other thing is supplied with the aircraft is this, it's almost like a multimeter. It tells you the exact charge of each of your batteries. And so the reason for this is each battery that you hold in your hand, one of these Typhoon Tornado batteries, is made up of multiple cells inside. And if you plug this into the balancing connector on a battery, you'll get a readout showing what the voltage is for each of those cells. And they should all be very close to each other, or you shouldn't be using the battery. So let's take one of the batteries out, and I'm going to bring this up to the camera and show you what that's about. So I'm going to take the Velcro adapter off, pull one of these out, and we're going to take this battery. Hopefully I can get in front of you here. And this is what it looks like before we plug it into the battery. So we're going to take this battery, and we're going to take this little charger and plug it into the balancing port. And after it's plugged in, you'll notice, hopefully we can see it here, that there's some numbers showing up. And those numbers will tell us the voltage for each of these batteries, and on the bottom it'll total up all the voltage to tell us what the voltage for all cells added up are. The third thing we're going to talk about is the CGO4 camera. At the moment, it is not attached to our Tornado aircraft. Yuneec has developed the CGO4 camera in close cooperation with Panasonic. The CGO4 camera, which I'll take out of the case in a moment, features a 3x optical zoom lens, 16 megapixel still photos, and 4K resolution video and distortion-free picture quality. In addition, you have full remote control of the CGO4 gimbal camera through the ST24 controller. Now, compared to traditional DSLR cameras, the CGO4 camera enables a longer flight time on the Tornado H920 thanks to its lightweight design. The camera can be operated either in single mode or team mode. Modular design allows it to attach to the bottom of the Tornado or on the ProAction handheld handle. Included with the purchase is the Yuneec CGO4 camera, the ProAction Steady Grip, and this aluminum case. Let's have a look. Now, this aluminum case is pretty good. It's strong, it's portable, easy to carry, and I believe it does a great job keeping our camera safe. So you're going to see in a moment, as I take this out of the box, that this camera is tremendous in size as compared to your typical webcams that are on the bottom of your consumer drones. So this camera is essentially a Panasonic GH4 camera built into a unique purpose-built housing with a 3x zoom lens, and in here is all built in to the gimbal and the camera are all the downlink modules and everything needed to control the aircraft via the ST24 controller. So the major difference here between this and installing like a Panasonic GH4 camera on the bottom is you have full control from the ST24. Not only can you change the pitch, you can rotate the camera 90 degrees, you can change ISO settings, shutter speeds, and just about anything you could do on a camera that you're holding in your hand. Unlike the GH4, which can be mounted on the bottom as well using a different gimbal, you can't control all the internal features of the camera. You pretty much can start it, you can stop it, but you really can't get at the settings, like I said, like the ISO, aperture, shutter speed, and so on. So to install this on the bottom of the aircraft, we have 4 thumb screws, and these thumb screws mount to a carbon fiber support housing on the bottom, and then we connect it to our aircraft via one small, simple little data connector. Okay, to attach the gimbal and the CGO4 camera to the bottom of the aircraft, we basically take this connector, slide it through. Using these 4 thumb screws, we fasten the camera to the bottom of the gimbal mount. Takes a couple minutes to get that done, and once it's installed, I'll come back to the front and we will plug in. So now we take the data cable and we plug it in underneath. Let's get this done here, and that's it. It's right behind the on-off button for the H920. So now we're connected. So I'm going to take off the lens cap. I'm going to power on the ST24 controller. I'll wait for it to power up. After it's powered up, I'll turn on the aircraft. The reason why I do it that way is we want the controller to be fully loaded before we turn on the aircraft, so when the aircraft turns on, it can find and bind with the ST24 controller. Now, while that's mounting, there's several modes you can put the ST24 controller in. It's called the FPV mode. That's the first-person view through the camera, or we can have a radio control mode where we're not seeing what the camera sees at all. And you would use that if you want to practice or just go for a flight without taking pictures. Now keep in mind that the controller has to bind to the camera and to the aircraft. And there's a process in there to do that. And just keep in mind that if you leave the first-person view mode and you want to fly in the RC mode where you're not filming, you basically, when you leave a mode, you unbind the aircraft, and when you go back into the new mode, you have to rebind the aircraft. A little bit clumsy, but something tells me a firmware upgrade will straighten that out over time. Using the ST24 controller, you can see that I can control pretty much every aspect of this camera. I can have the camera pitch up, I can have the camera pitch down, I can rotate the camera in either direction. I can rotate it at a certain speed and have it rotate at that speed until I tell it to stop rotating at that speed. At any point in time, I can flip a switch and have it point to the front of the aircraft. Once again, pitching up, pitching down. Now, naturally in flight, the landing gear on this aircraft will be up, so you'll have unobstructed view when you're taking pictures with this camera. So you can, in essence, hang the camera in the air, hang the drone in the air, and then simply control the camera. Or one operator can fly the drone while another operator can control the camera. In essence, one person is the pilot of the aircraft, the other person is the pilot of the camera. Another absolute beautiful feature, I'm going to see if I can show this to you right now, is the zoom capability. So I'm going to see if I can bring this controller over to you so you can see what the camera sees. So let's do that. So right now, the camera is pointing at the backdrop. And I'm going to take the camera and I'm going to show you what it sees. And so right now, this is what the camera is seeing. I can aim up, I can pitch up, I can pitch down, I can zoom in, I can zoom out. You cannot do this on a regular Panasonic GH4 camera mounted on the bottom of the H920. You can only do this with the purpose-built integrated CGO4 camera. So I can take a picture, I can start and stop video, I can change camera modes. For example, I want to go to video mode, just like I'm using a Panasonic GH4 camera in my hand. I apologize for the reflection of light in here, but I just want to have you get a view of what's happening. So now I can turn on my camera, I can videotape while I turn, I can zoom in, zoom out. Taking a little time there, let's see. I can pitch up and pitch down. And of course I can rotate. I can change the sensitivity of the camera using my ISO feature. As you can see, the picture changed. I can go to auto. I can go back to picture taking mode. Oop, I gotta stop my camera first. Now I go back to picture taking mode, and I can take some still pictures. So let's go back and talk about some of the things that you should know about the CGO4 camera. For starters, it's an incredible camera. It is a Panasonic GH4 camera built in a Yuneec purpose-built housing. And when I say purpose-built, what we're saying is Yuneec and Panasonic have worked very closely together to make sure that you get all the features of a professional Panasonic GH4 camera, but at the same time, you're able to control every aspect of that camera from your ST24 controller. I've compared and contrasted photos from the Yuneec Typhoon and this particular CGO4 camera. And although the Yuneec Typhoon's camera is phenomenal, there really is no comparison from a professional camera and the type of camera you find on most consumer and prosumer drones. So, in summary, the CGO4 camera is absolutely incredible. You can change the lenses on this camera as well. I'm not sure, because I haven't seen it, how the gimbal will balance other lenses, whether there's a telephoto lens or what have you. But this particular camera with the lens equipped out of the box, this sells for $26.99. It's absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. And the 3x zoom capability that you get on this camera gives you the ability to do survey work, roof inspections, and get really close to things without having to risk the aircraft or the property that you're inspecting or photographing. So that's it. It comes with a beautiful box. It comes with the Pro Action hand grip, which I'm not going to show you in this video. It's an incredible camera, and to date, there's nothing else that I've ever worked with that is even remotely close to this on a professional level. So highly recommend it. Great job, Yuneec. Thumbs up. Thank you, YouTube, for watching this video. We hope you learned a little bit about the H920. We talked about three things. We talked about its size in comparison to other aircrafts, which I'm sure you'll agree, it's tremendous. We talked about its ability to fly with up to 3 batteries installed, unlike most other drones which have 1 battery. And we talked about its incredible CGO4 camera, which is essentially a Panasonic GH4 camera built in a Yuneec housing. So, if you like this video, please give us some likes and some thumbs up, and visit us at www.terrestrialimaging.com.